Okay, why don't we get going, please? This is the Goffstown School District Deliberative Session, known in the before times as the annual school meeting. I'm Jim Raymond, the school moderator. It's nice to see you all here tonight. Last year we got diverted into a more lengthy award ceremony than we were planning. We're going to get right into business tonight so you can get home early to get a good night's sleep to get ready for tomorrow's town deliberative session. But if you will first rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin the meeting, I want to introduce the school and budget committee members who spend lots of time getting ready for this meeting, and also some of the school district administrators and staff who are critical to the running of our schools. First, on the school board, if I call your name, please raise your hand. Heather Trapaz, chair. Caroline Racine. Oh, I'm sorry. Raise your hand, I said. Jack Carbonneau. Retta Chaffee. Laura Fleming. Vanessa Hayes. Janie McKinnon. Shane Razimus. And Jared Talbot. As I do every year, this is my annual opportunity to massacre names, and I will take full advantage of it. Please don't take offense. Some people think it's an honor. For the budget committee, walking in right now, when I call your name, please raise your hand. Elizabeth Dubril, the chair. Thank you, well timed. By the way, you should, if you get the New Hampshire Historical Society publications, you will see her prominently listed as an author and an editor, so well done. Samantha Kearns, a vice chair, and back. Brian Mazur, Laura Stevens, and back. Don't be shy, please. Joseph Alexander, I don't see him. Izzy Carey, Olivia Welch Erdl. How did I do on that? Rich Jarrell. Okay, here's the one I practiced. Peter Gregor Arkakis. Am I getting better? Okay. Allison DeSaris. James Piercy. I'm sorry, where were you? Okay. And Doug Pounds. Thank you. For school administrators, I want to introduce a few of them. Brian Balke, our superintendent. Wendy Kohler, the assistant, and back. Scott Gross, the operations manager. Where is he hiding right now? Oh, way in back. Okay. Kate McGrath, the human resources director, who we'll hear from later on. Jennifer Freitas, the special ed director, in back. Randy Loring, the facilities director. He's critical to way in back, keeping the lights on. Don Tabor, the facilities supervisor. And Steve Rogette, who is the, what do you call him? The guy who does on the computers and speaks languages I can't understand. Not here tonight is Denise Moran, who, has her retirement been announced? I think it was. She's playing, she won't be here next year, she said. She told me. But she's critical to setting this up. And I appreciate, although she's not here tonight, everything she's done.
And we also have Doug Totten.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. My bad, Doug Totten, I'm sorry. For the principals and assistant principals, Kathy Stroyle, the principal of Glen Lake School, in back. Carolyn Donovan, the assistant principal, if she's here, in back. The Bartlett Elementary School, Suzanne Pishka. And Darcy Crete, the assistant principal, in back. From Maple Ave, Bill Demers, the principal, Bridget, is it Perry or Perry, the special ed, and Jill Rios, Dean of Students. Thank you. From Mountain View, Jessica Milligan, the principal, and back. Brandy Williams, assistant principal. Mark Lacasse, Dean of Students. Joshua Lewis, curriculum coordinator, back. And Lindsay Phillips, special ed facilitator. For the high school, Frank McBride, may I say something about him? Okay, who is the principal and has been, he's whispered in my ear that he's planning to retire. I guess I can whisper it to Brian's ear after and appreciate what he's done for us. Tim Gazzone, assistant, is it Gazzone or Gazzoni? Gazzone. I spent some time in Italy, so I'm sorry, I'm getting messed up in my... Associate principal, Kim McCann, assistant principal. Back, Janine Casavant, Dean of Students, and Callie Rozamek, assistant ed facilitator. I like to recognize members of the select board who are here. It's nice to have them on the school side. That didn't always happen in Goffstown. I'm going to list your names, but I haven't checked up who's actually here, so if you're not, don't be embarrassed. Peter Georgantis, I don't see him. Mark LeMay, who usually, yeah, here he is, good, thank you. Jim Craig, Josh Douglas, there he is, and Richard Manzo, who I saw. So thank you for coming. We'll see more of you tomorrow. Okay, what are we doing tonight? You've heard this lecture before, but I'm going to give it again for the benefit of people who haven't heard it at least 6 times. In the traditional town meeting, it had 3 functions on the warrant. First was to discuss and debate. Second was to amend. The third was to vote. In the old days, Goffstown, both in the school and town, had adopted what was called the official ballot, which was the ballot in writing. And in the before times, we put the election of officers, and on the town side, zoning on the written ballot, the official ballot. Goffstown in 1995, the infinite wisdom of the voters, adopted the official ballot referendum system known as SB 2 or Senate Bill 2. What that did is it separated the 3 functions of the town meeting, kept the debate and deliberation and amendment at this meeting, but moved all the voting on all the warrant articles to the official ballot, which is voted on the traditional town meeting day, the 2nd Tuesday in March. So what we will do tonight, we will discuss, debate, and if you wish, we can amend certain articles. We retain that function, but we don't take any final vote. So if this meeting does not amend a warrant article, it will appear on the ballot on voting day, on the ballot voting day, as it appears. We don't need to take any action tonight to move it to the official ballot. Everybody understand that procedure? I have a few simple rules of procedure. If you want to hear the long form, come tomorrow night and Rodney will read his for quite a while. Let's just assume we did that tonight. But I have a few procedural rules, Raymond's Rules of Good Order, Civil Discussion. 1, comments must be germane to a warrant article. This isn't a general discussion meeting. We're here to act on the warrant. If you wish to speak, you wait until you're recognized by the moderator. You may come up to the microphones, but you must wait to be recognized by me. Please use the microphone, even if you have Velo's lungs, because the acoustics aren't that great. Fred Platt and I don't have the great hearing we had when we were 24, went to too many rock concerts, and we want to pick this up for television, so we need you to speak into the mics. All comments are addressed to the moderator, me, not to any individuals, not to boards. When you speak, please state your name, even if you spoke previously. I won't pick on Fred, but our memories aren't as good as they used to be, and for the minutes, we need to have your name each time. We have certain limits on comments. Comments cannot be addressed, or questions cannot be addressed to any individual or board. Again, they're addressed to me. I will not permit any criticism of any individual or any board. We're going to assume that everybody here is trying to further the best interests of Goffstown and the school district, however differently they may see it. But we're not going to permit any criticisms. This is not national politics. And I will not entertain comments from the audience. You have to come and be recognized. If you have questions, you may ask up to 2 questions at a time, but the boards are not obligated to answer. We're going to batch the questions, and they'll have a chance to answer if they wish, which means once you ask your questions, you will sit down. You can't stand there and wait for an answer. If you have more questions, and there's time, and other people have asked questions, you may come back. But the old days, you're standing and monopolizing the microphone. No, we're not doing that. The procedure on motions, and you're going to hear this, if you want to make a motion, you can make it orally, but you need to make it in writing too. And we have a forms up here to make a motion, to amend, or the other motions. So come up, we'll give them to you. I reserve the right to reject any motion that's made for purpose of delay or obstruction. On motions to amend, and Rodney will talk about this, you cannot change the purpose of an expenditure item or wording on any warrant article, wording that's required by statute, as most of these are, in fact. You cannot change, you cannot eject a new subject matter into a warrant article. The exceptions to the written amendments are motions to restrict reconsideration, which we'll talk about, and motions to adjourn, which I hope somebody will make at the end of the meeting. I'm going to make you do it, okay? Motion to restrict reconsideration, it's in the statute. In the old days, after all the votes were taken on buying the new dump truck, and most of the people had left, somebody would bring forward a motion to reconsider the vote while 10 people were left, and they'd reconsider and vote it down after most people thought the deal was over and gone home. To avoid that, once we have finished on a warrant article, somebody can, usually a school board will take the hint, makes a motion to restrict reconsideration, seconded. If this group votes in favor, it cannot come back. So we're done, we can move on to the next article. Okay, let's look then at what we're going to do on the warrant. We're going to work through it. As each warrant article comes up, I will read most of it, but paraphrase, unless people need me to read the whole thing. There's a lot of wording there that I don't think you need to repeat. We'll have a motion by the school board members to bring it forward for discussion. That's parliamentary procedure. And second, and then we'll begin the discussion. The presentation first will be by the school board. Where's Elizabeth? This budget committee, if they wish to say anything, and then the public may. I'm going to try to impose time limits, about 5 minutes on the initial presentation, unless it's a lengthy and it requires a lot of discussion, and 3 minutes on comments. Those aren't rigid, but we want to move on. So I'll reserve the right to suggest people stop. You should all have voting cards. You haven't lost them yet. Make sure you do. If we need on a vote, if a voice vote is close, we'll take a standing vote. And I have counters who will go around and count. I'll have you hold your voting card to show that you're a voter. If, and I'm not inviting this, we have a written ballot, you will need this in order to vote. So don't lose them. Does anybody have any questions? I want to make sure people understand this procedure. It's confusing on the first go-around. I think after you've been to 10 or 12 of these meetings, it begins to make sense. Everybody all set? Okay, let's go on then to the warrant. The first warrant article is the election of officers. As I said before, that goes on the official ballot. There's no action taken at this meeting on the election of officers. So we'll go instead to warrant Article 2, which is the operating budget. I'm going to start the discussion and let you, I'll start reading this and get tired and stop. Shall the Goffstown School District raise and appropriate an operating budget, not including appropriation by special warrant articles or other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote at this session, where we are tonight, totaling $58,545,759. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $58,208,837, which is the same as last year. I'm going to let Scott, if the question comes up, explain the calculation of the default budget. So, Scott, you can start preparing your script. Okay, and then if it's defeated, the default budget or the governing body can hold one special meeting. Okay. Doug, do you have a motion to bring this forward for discussion?
Heather does.
Oh, Heather does. Heather.
Oh, I'm doing- yes,
Okay.
I do.
Okay, Jack, are you seconding it?
Yes.
Okay. Jared, you're presenting? Okay. Moderator recognizes Jared Talbot to discuss the article.
So thank you, Jim. I think I got 5 minutes, so I'll go through this at warp speed if I can.
Well, you're the exception because you're doing so much numbers.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Some of the slides have changed since we presented at the Budget Committee public hearing, so I will go through some of these in details. For those of you that don't know, Jared Talbot, a member of the school board. I do not like reading from the slides. I don't want to insult your intelligence, but I will try to key in on some of the key takeaways from the slides. If you're looking for our budget materials, you'll see up on the slide right here, you see the finance section of the Goffstown district on the SAU 19 website. Go under finance, the election information, then March 2026. All the information that is being presented and handed out, as well as additional information, is listed under this folder. So let's talk about our budget vision for 2027. One of the things that we always focused on is, why do we need this money? What are we asking for? And really trying to articulate those pieces. So we want to continuously focus on our students, focusing on their instruction, getting high quality teachers in place, being able to bring them in and retain them, and also have the security within our school systems that are needed so that our children are safe. Technology does remain and facilities do remain those two things that we are focusing on in this budget cycle, and you'll see some of those items as we go through our slides today. When we talk about IT stability, for those of you that may be on MS Teams or on any kind of web-based surfaces, you know sometimes there are problems. All of a sudden the video goes glitchy on us, start pixelating in the voices. That's what we talk about for IT stability. We want to make sure that we have the funds needed to have a stable network in place, making sure that our technology is used not only for our teachers, not only for our paras, not only for our students, but damn it, also for our parents that are at home trying to log into Power School and everything else to understand what's going on. When we talk about sustainability, we want to make sure that we have predictable models to be able to replace some of our capital assets. We have switches, which is basically where all of our internet comes into the school. We have to replace those. Those depreciate over time. Those can go bad over time. We want to make sure that we set up a cycle to ensure that we have that stability and sustainability in place. And then, of course, security. Making sure our data, our CUI, our information that needs to remain confidential is confidential. Making sure that we have the security protocols in place so that we can protect that information that is important. We talk about our facilities, we also talk about our maintenance. Not only our rising costs that are occurring, get the HVAC people in, making sure that we have some of those repairs that are needed. All those costs are going up. We all recognize that. Making sure that we have those mandatory inspections, the fire chief coming in saying, let's look at that cistern. Let's look at the sprinkler system. Let's look at the fire panel to make sure that it's appropriate for the schools. We have to make sure that we pass all those inspections and get ready for those inspections, because we don't want to fail an inspection and have to close down a particular school. And then our grounds, making sure that they're safe. You know, you might see when you came in, I don't know if the snow's still out there, but we restriped all the driveways here in the parking. Hopefully it was a little bit better so that people aren't parking perpendicular, but they're at an angle now. Hopefully it's easy to get in and out and not having any minor fender benders that might occur. I'm not looking at anybody though, Brian. So when we talk about Goffstown, you know, this is something that's hammered on a lot. We are a low cost per participant per pupil. So what does that mean? The state average for every school, for every pupil that we have is roughly $22,000, $22,699. Now, when we come to this number, this is so that we can compare school system against school system. When we look at our budgets, every town, every district, every community goes through this same process. They take their budget, they remove their any bonds that have occurred, as well as any busing that occurs. Those two numbers get removed from the operating budget so that each town can be compared against each other. We don't want to compare ourselves against, you know, a very rural Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, which spends a lot of money on busing their 12 students for their seniors. We have to make sure that we do that apples to apples comparison. Our cost per pupil here at Goffstown, when we remove any bonds, which we don't have any that I'm aware of, as well as our busing, is roughly $17,811 per pupil. And then we spend roughly 22% less than the state average. And we spend less than our surrounding communities that we have here in southern New Hampshire. So if we look at this, we actually break it down by I want to say schools. Elementary, we do have 3 elementary schools. It's not just 2. Glen Lake is considered an elementary school, so that is under elementary area. But when we look at our cost per student or cost per pupil, you can see broken down where we are through pre-K or K through 4, 5th grade through 8th grade, and then at the high school level. You know, the red, I don't know why we're not Goffstown maroon up there, but we're red. Don't know we have the Bedford colors. Then we have the blue representing the state of where we are. So you can see we're consistently less than what the state average is. The operating budget, the moderator has already gone over. One of the things that is added to the warrant article, I believe, is the top section. It is required for us to put our proficiency scores. We're going to go over these proficiency scores a little bit more in detail, but this is something that one of the RSAs were updated and is actually going to be part of the warrant article because it's important to understand where this money goes and what are the outcomes associated with this. So you can see from the RSAs and the state average, our English learning language proficiency is at 58%, math proficiency is at 43%, which again is above the state average, and science proficiency is above our state average. Are these numbers great? Could they be better? Of course. But we are better than the state average, and we're paying a lot less than the state average for these scores, these outcomes. So when we look at the overall budget comparison, where are we this year? What is our default budget if we decide that we're not going to pass the budget come in March? And what does a proposed budget passage looks like? So our general fund is our operating fund that we have for this year was roughly $54.6 million. Our default budget, because there are contractual obligations that we have, does raise our default budget for next year to $55.3 million. And then our proposed budget is estimated at, or rounding, $55.7 million. So you see the difference between our proposed and our default is $336,000. The food services line is an enterprise fund. That is the fund that we have to put in the warrant as our overall warrant article number. This is the amount of money that goes to the school. And when I say goes to, people pay in to get their lunch, get their breakfast, get other things. This is a revolving fund. So even though that this is an expense account, we have a matching revenue account on the other side. Then the special revenue talks about those things like those grants that we get, both federally and state. We put that information in because we got to do that T accounting for our financial accounting. We have to make sure that when we have a revenue, we also have an expense. So when we add all those up, what you're seeing on the warrant article itself for this year that was passed was $57.4 million. The default that will be listed in the warrant article is $58.2 million. And then the proposed budget is $58.5 million. Again, the difference between the proposed budget and the default budget is $337,000. And we'll get into what that accounts for. So when we look at our fund portioning, you notice what the differences are. When we have our current funds for this year, our proposed funds, and then the difference, you're seeing the breakout that is occurring between those years of this current year and next year. So the proposed budget. There are no new positions in this budget at all. That doesn't mean that we don't move around people. We recognize that sometimes we have a general ask or a need in a certain area, and we do cannibalize current positions for those. So if there's a special French teacher or a French course that we need to put in or anything along those lines, but there's less of another course, we will move a teacher from one class to another, one section to another. The budget does also include a $500,000 reduction during the budget committee process. It was a very good conversations that we had, and this was about some of our medical that we are putting in, and we saw our empirical data didn't always have what we were putting in our budget. So instead of pulling and collecting money for taxes and then give it back, the budget committee decided, hey, let's cut $500,000. We think that's enough. This school board agreed to move that forward. So what does our increases in our budget really account for? Well, vocational tuition. We have the School of Manchester Technology that we've spent, I believe, Tim, where are you? Roughly 107 students, thank you, Tim. 107 students go to Manchester Vocational Technical School. So they come here to Goffstown, then they go over to MST, and the increases that have occurred there is roughly $250,000 more than what we had. And so this is an opportunity where we want to give our students the best education they can. Not everybody's going to go to college. Some people are going to go into the trades. And instead of limiting those members that go into the trades, we thought that this is very important that we prioritize this to get everybody the possibilities for their future career. We look at our municipal lease. We did sign a municipal lease to redo some of our lighting, redo some of our technology. This is a 17-year lease, and it's year 2 of this, and this is a way for us to save money. So we saved a lot of money in year 1 so that we didn't have to really pay our payment down. We saved money, and the continuation of savings is occurring. But of course, that means that we have to spend a little bit money so that we can have better lighting, better use of our electricity, be able to pay less for some of those activities that we have. Information technology, hardware, and software, there was an increase of $140,000. And then special education transportation requirement that we must satisfy did increase by $320,000 in our budget. So these are the generalized what's in our budget that increased and why we have that increase. Some of our demographic data that we have here in the school system, you hear from the state of New Hampshire. We have less students going to school. Absolutely right. There are less students going to grade school over the years. Not in Goffstown. In Goffstown, we remain roughly average of where we are. As people graduate, as people move out of the Goffstown, new families are coming into Goffstown. That attrition is being filled with younger children. So as you see, there is a trend. There was a bubble for Goffstown. Are we slightly going down? Yes, we are. But overall, we're pretty much healthy, especially with some of the developments that are occurring within this town. There could be a possible increase for our enrollment. But we are contrary to what's happening in the state. That is a key takeaway that is coming from these slides right here. Enrollments. We take a snapshot as of October 1st each year, and we look at our enrollments. As you can see, we're pretty steady. We go up some, we go down some. I do want to concentrate on Maple Ave, something that we've been talking about. I know I've been talking about for quite some time. We have a lot of students. We have a big bubble at Maple for our younger students. You know, if you go up and you ask our principal, you know, what kind of room do we have there? Not much. Just one of those things. Now, as we go into the middle school and we go into the high school, there is some capacity there. But I wanted to have everybody recognize that as we continue to maintain, as new families are coming in, basically we do have that elementary school bubble that is occurring. And Glen Lake is a little bit difficult, as we know. You know, as we come into Glen Lake for pre-K or for kindergarten, we don't know who signed up for kindergarten until basically the week before. You know, we have a best guess, but we have half-day kindergarten, and those are our numbers, and that doesn't mean that we stay there. The kindergarten numbers can change throughout the year. Usually they go up because people start coming into that pre-K or to the kindergarten schools itself. Special education. So these are the individuals that have special education, individual education plans, IEPs, or other items that they have, 504s or others. And these are the numbers and the percentage of students that currently have those IEPs or special education programs that are going on. 40% at Glen Lake, understandable, pre-K, kindergarten. That is where a majority, if people are aged at 3 years old, they're leaving those things such as Easter seals, they have an individual education plan, they get enrolled in pre-K in Glen Lake. Bartlett, 19%, then Maple, and then you see MVMS as well as the high school. So our total population, 21% of our students have some type of special education that's occurring. Revenues. Mr. Gross, he said that he had a bet every time I say taxation. I think he said that he wins a bet, so I got to say it multiple times. But for our revenues, that contrary to our expenses, you'll see that first one for this year and what our projections are for next year. When you see local, mostly tuition, that is the amount of money that New Boston is paying us through the area agreement. So we're looking at roughly $8.8 million that New Boston is sending us for the 7th through 12th graders. And then we're projecting roughly 9.4, close to 9.5 million next year for those New Boston students that are coming into Goffstown. We have the state amount of money that's being presented, roughly $781,000, down to a projection of $752,000. Federal grants that are occurring, again, as I talked about that warrant article and that enterprise revolving piece, this is one of those things that we're projecting roughly $1.8 million in grants that we're going to be getting from either the state or federal, mostly federal at this point. Use of fund balance. Contrary to the town, the school cannot keep a fund balance. We can keep a contingency fund, but any unreserved fund balance that comes June 30th must be returned to the town to offset taxes. So that is the amount of money that we've collected, that we haven't spent. We might have received more tuition than we did that we expected to have, and that is a fund balance that goes back to the taxpayers. New Hampshire adequacy. Again, additional money coming from the state of New Hampshire. As you can see, it did go up from 8.09 million, projected to be 8.7 million. And then SWEPS. That again is a property tax associated, paid locally, but the state considers it's from them. So this year we're looking at 3.1 million, and again next year 3.1 million. So from a state perspective, we're looking at a little over $11 million that they're providing based on these numbers here. And then if we add the additional 700,000, you can just add those lines up. That's what the state's providing for our education. We'll look at the other use of fund balance for non-miscellaneous items and then our total revenue. So we are looking roughly to have $100,000 more dollars in total revenue for next year than we get for this year. Tax impact. Now, people would say, I can't guarantee this. The tax rate is set by the select board. However, what we do have as our kind of rule of thumb is for every $100,000, our tax rate increases or decreases by 4 cents per $100,000. So, so if we increase $100,000 in spending, for every $1,000 assessed, your tax rate will go up or down by 4 cents. If we look at our tax impact versus projections, this is something that we've kind of guesstimated and say, how have we done based on what we think? You'll see the projected tax rate that the school has put together. However, the select board makes the tax rate, and you see that actual tax rate listed on that second or third column there. We are projecting roughly a tax rate of $11.99. And if we look at the breakdown for this, we're basically looking at the difference of your taxes increase for a default budget of $117 for this operating budget. And if the proposed budget is passed, your taxes would go up $167 for the median income, which I believe is $416,000 for a house. Default budget, this is just the RSAs listing our default budget. It is this year's operating budget. We take out things that were one-time expenditures, and then we have to make sure that those contractual obligations that are occurring are in our operating budget in the default. So what I just talked about, what makes up the default budget? Again, it's this year's budget, and that includes the approved contracts, which we do have one that's going to be coming on a warrant article. Kate McGrath will be talking about that for warrant article number 3. But we do have another bargaining unit contract, the GESS contract, that is getting raises and is part of the default contract that we have, or the default operating budget that we have. The MSDSB is kind of what we send to the state. This is our breakdown of all of our finances that we have here. This is what is audited by the state. This is what is audited by Plosick and Sanders every year as we go forward. This is kind of the Bible, if you excuse the term, for operating our school system. What are we actually paying for? What are we getting as outcomes from this money? We do have the academic achievements. Again, if you go to the SAU 19 site, you see these 3 little buttons on the right-hand side. If you click on that, go under Information, Curriculum, and then District Achievements and Performance. You'll see the following slides listed there, as well as additional slides. And this is what changed on me, so I'm going to be seeing this for the first time, like all of you. So we are ranked number 14. Our high school is ranked number 14 out of 98 high schools in the state of New Hampshire. We have college readiness that's going on. We have some of those college prep courses that are going on. We have proficiency tests that are occurring. We are getting students ready to go and have a military service as well. So when we look at not just scores that we get as part of a testing system, but we talk about how well are our students for their next phase of their life. What is our cost per pupil as it relates to the surrounding towns? So you see GHS for our high school, our cost per pupil is $16,800, and we have 1,044 as our SAT scores for those of you that, or for those students that are going in to college. Concord, John Stark, Londonderry, the state average, Merrimack, Milford, and Sauhegan are all listed here. This is where we're competing for our teachers in these areas as well. So you can see, what are our SAT scores that we're getting, what are they getting, and what are we spending, and what are they spending? Again, I kind of asked the crowd, what is it that we're getting as part of these funds, as part of these taxes? These are our outcomes that our students are achieving. Our exam participation and pass rate for those AP courses, getting them ready to go to college, so they can take these classes, these tests, and not have to take the course at their college. I've seen this for where I teach up at UNH, and this is a great opportunity for our students to get ahead. So, how many participants have actually taken the tests, what the tests were, and what was our passing rate based on the year? 86.79% is passing for AP course preparation. That means that's tuition those students don't have to pay for a class at a college because they've taken it in high school and they've passed. Getting them ready. Post-graduation trajectory. How many of our students go to a 4-year school? How many go to a 2-year trade school? How many going into military service? Again, something very important that we want to keep track of. So you see from 2021 what those percentages are for our class population, our graduations, and our graduates, and where they're going. Mr. Moderator, I'll turn it back to you for questions.
Are there any questions on Article 2? I always commend Jared because he handles numbers very well, sometimes mind-bogglingly. But if you have questions, I would like to hear it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Shannon Carey, 16 Gorham Pond Road. So looking at everything you guys posted here and what you have posted online, there's under RSA 189:76, there's the mandatory forms you guys posted with like the different graphs. And I was wondering if the school board could maybe explain the discrepancies. The figures that are supposed to be shown are supposed to be the full amount of the compensation for the administrators. So I'm wondering, there's like a really huge discrepancy between what is you've listed on the mandatory form and what you're reporting to the Department of Education, a discrepancy of over $103,914.
Okay, I'll give them a chance to answer that question. Are there any other questions while they prepare an answer? Yes, ma'am. They'll answer it. I'll give them, as I said, we'll package these.
Hi, I'm Samantha Kearns, 5 Washington Street, Apartment 4, Goffstown. I didn't get a chance to go to the, we're in the deliberative session right now. Why can't I think of the word? The public hearing. I'm like the last deliberative session, because I had a family emergency, so I didn't get to voice a recommendation on this. So this is just me as a member of the budget committee saying that I would have recommended this article, and I just wanted to let people know that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Does somebody want to address the question that was raised? Doug?
Great. My name is Doug Todd, and I'm the business administrator for the district. So thank you for that question. So this is a new requirement from the state. It's out of the Student First Act. And what it is it's 3 graphs plus a table. It has shown up in the paper as well as it's also online, and it's posted in 4 different places around the town. So the first graph is the cost per student, and then it's adjusted for inflation, and it shows that for 10 years. Then there's the average teacher salary, and it's adjusted for inflation over 10 years. And then there is administration salary. So the wording that's used in the RSA is salary for administration. So that's what we used. So it's not the total compensation. And it's also asking us, if you're part of a multi-district town, to prorate that per town. So part of the salaries at the SAU are paid by Goffstown and part are paid by New Boston. So when you see this information, you'll see also the percentage that is paid by each town. As we look at this RSA, it also identifies who are the administrators they want the information for. And that is 4 people. It's the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, the business administrator, and the DEI or equivalent. We do not have a DEI position in the district. Therefore, we're down to those 3 positions: superintendent, assistant superintendent, and business administrator. Again, it's a salary for those 3 positions, but proportion to what Goffstown pays.
Does anybody else have a question before we go back to the original questioner? Seeing none, go ahead.
Hi, again, Shannon Carey, 16 Gorham Pond Road. Just reading the RSA, would the school board recognize that it's a little bit misleading the way it's presented? You have like the superintendent's salary listed as $153,000 and change, And yes, you put the table underneath that says, this is the percentage Goffstown pays and this is the percentage that New Boston pays, but you're never listing the total of the salary package. So it appears to voters that the $153,000 is actually what those percentages underneath represent, when in reality, it's $195,000. So you're not stating clearly anywhere. So it actually is really misleading. And I didn't know if that was something the board would be willing to correct so that you're being as transparent as possible to the people who are voting on the budget.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am?
Sierra Hubbard, 49 Holly Street. I just want a clarification. Is this information that we're talking about, is that in here? Is it on the link that we were given? Like, I just wanted to look at it if it was somewhere.
What's on the warrant is different from what is posted under the statute. So if you're looking at the warrant article, that does not include all the information we're discussing. Statute requires it to be posted separately and not in the warrant.
Okay, so that's not related to what we're
We're
discussing.
not
voting
acting on that tonight. That's an informational posting.
Got it.
So what we act on tonight is the warrant article with an appropriation amount. And the introduction to the warrant article has some information, but it's not the complete list of what is posted separately. Okay, are there any other questions?
I could answer that question.
Do you want to? Go ahead.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
So again, Doug Totten, Business Administrator. So to kind of answer both of those questions, if you saw there were QR codes as you entered, as well as in the back, if you go on to, if you put in that QR code, that will bring you to multiple pieces of information. It's also what Jared kind of explained as far as underneath the Goffstown webpage and then the finance drive as well. So in regards to this is new for the state again, so it's new for us to kind of look at. There are multiple business administrators, superintendents, attorneys who have kind of recommended what to do with the Student First Act, this RSA. And it's also new for everyone else who is in this building as well as throughout the state, kind of looking at all the graphs. Our table, the lead for our table is top administrator salaries for fiscal year 26, and then the next row says Goffstown's share of the total salary. So when it says that the superintendent has a salary of $153,258, you look directly up from that says Goffstown's share of the total salary. So our goal is to be as transparent as possible, looking at the RSA and complying to the RSA as well. But again, this is new for all of us. I think it definitely will be easier for us to put this together next year, and it'll be easier for everyone to kind of look at the graphs next year as well. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a general.
Tell us your name, please.
Sorry. Christine Templeton, 176 Kennedy Hill. I have a general question. For the sake of the teachers and to ensure and guarantee that they get those raises that they really deserve, is it possible to amend the budget by that amount to guarantee that we can pay those increases? Is it by the 1.9 million?
Jared, I'm going to let Jared answer how the numbers are calculated and what they include before we answer your question.
So thank you for the question. The GESS agreement is the support services agreement that's currently in the default. So that was approved by the voters several years ago. Those raises are in the default budget, and of course that means they're in the proposed budget. There is another warrant article that will be discussed after this one for the teacher contract, which I think you're talking about. That will be a separate warrant article that we'll discuss and take questions on at that point.
But in answer to your question on the general warrant article, it does not include separate warrant articles. So when we vote on the separate warrant article, that will be a separate appropriation.
Yes, so my question is can we still vote on the CBA, the new CBA that's coming out, and show no tax impact because it's already going to be accounted in an amended budget?
I'm going to throw that to you, Jared.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. So if the subsequent warrant article is passed, warrant article number 3, which is a teacher contract, that will be added to the operating budget. And then because to steal a little thunder, it's a multi-year contract. Those future years will be built into the default. So if the GEA contract is approved as part of warrant article number 3, which we'll talk about in a little bit, those raises would be placed in the default budget for the next fiscal year. We'll leave it at that.
You know, I've been doing this for a few years, and I always appreciate being stumped by a question that I have to pass off, so thank you for asking that.
Jim, can I add
Brian? I
Good evening,
recognize
everyone. I'm Brian
Balke,
Balke. I'm the superintendent. The question was about the ability to increase a budget amount. So statutorily, the budget could be increased at this meeting by up to 10%. So I think, Christine, is that what you were asking about?
Decrease the operating budget by the 1.9 million for this year.
The
The 1.9 million is a separate article.
Right, I get that.
So it's not included in the cost of the budget.
Right. We want to reduce the
Wait, if you're going to speak, you better come back up. I'll let you finish asking this extended question so we can be sure to answer it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see if we could amend the operating budget by that amount, or close to it, or half of it, or anything, just so we can be assured that those teachers get those raises, because there is a chance that that CBA is going to be voted down. So if we could reduce the operating budget by, and balance it out so that there is little to no tax impact, I think that it would be received better.
Yeah. Elizabeth, I'm going to recognize the chair of the Budget Committee to answer that question. Thank you.
Elizabeth DeBrule, 9 First Avenue. I'm chair of the Budget Committee. So it would actually, to do that, there would still be a tax impact. It would just be in a different warrant article, and you would have deprived the voters of the opportunity to vote up or down on that particular item. And also, as Superintendent Balke pointed out, we legally cannot raise the budget that much at this meeting because the law prohibits us from doing that. So it cannot be done. It has to be done. The CBA has to be approved in a separate warrant article. Also, a budget, the operating budget, could not guarantee their raises over the 4-year period. It would only be a one-time shot. So there's lots of reasons that that cannot be done.
Right, I was not saying not to vote on the CBA, it absolutely has to. I'm just trying to see if we could adjust the tax impact on it.
Okay,
But-
thank you.
And assure that they get those raises.
You can't. You cannot adjust the tax impact on that.
I'm going to move on. Thank you for both your good question, good answer. Yes, sir. Who was up first? I'm going to call you. Ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Liz Dolan at 356 Workley Hill Road. I just want to briefly comment on these proficiency rates that are failing grades. We're bragging that we're above the state, which is incredibly low. And I have corrected those exams, and the bar is incredibly low to be at grade level.
Wait. Gentlemen, I'm going, no. I've told you, we're not accepting comments from the audience. If you're going to behave like that, I'm going to ask you to leave. And if that doesn't work, we'll have a police officer escort you out. No. Got it? It's the last I want to hear from that. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to address that because we're spending a lot of money, and I work in education. I know teachers work hard, but something's not right when that many of our kids cannot reach this low bar.
Okay.
You know, it's a really serious problem that we should be addressing. 42% only in math proficiency.
Okay, thank you,
That's so
ma'am.
low.
Yes.
Hi, Jessica Putin, Lesnick Road in Goffstown. So I have a question about the budget and the financial audit. Given that the adverse opinion on the audit every year was related to retirement reporting issues, what is the formal corrective action plan to address it, including timelines, responsible parties, and measurable milestones? That's my first question on that.
And what's your second question?
How will the board independently verify that the corrective actions are effective and sustained rather than relying on internal assurances alone?
Okay, I'm going to note that we are acting on a warrant tonight, so if.
Well,
the-
it pertains to the budget.
Okay, I'm going to let the board answer if they wish, but they're not compelled to. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, you may sit down now, because we'll go on. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Kirsty Hazelbaker, Timeway. I have a question about the $250,000 that somebody said was a state shortfall for vocational education. Was that always a state shortfall, or is that something new that the state is not paying for?
Okay.
It's $250,000.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. Are there any other questions?
So I can answer a couple of those.
Okay, Doug.
Did you hear about the vocational tuition too?
I did.
Okay.
So I'll go back to the previous question in regards to the Plodzik and Sanderson audit. So part of that audit is in regards to post-retirement benefits. So that would be things like pension that comes out of the state of New Hampshire that teachers and other professionals pay into as well as medical. So as we know, they're paying into the pension and the school district's paying into the pension. But as soon as a person retires, it has no impact on the school district at all. So there is a law that is part of the audit which says you need to account for that. Well, the only way to account for that is to hire another actuary for about $5,000 or $7,000 for an amount which Goffstown has nothing to do with after a person retires. So decisions made by Goffstown as well as multiple other school districts is not to pay that money from the taxpayers' money, $5,000, $7,000, for nothing that's going to impact the school. So part of it is like how much money is going to be for these teachers who are retiring? Well, again, none of that money is going to be coming out of the tax dollars of Goffstown. It's going to be coming out of the New Hampshire retirement system, which has already been paid into by these employees. So the decision is, do we pay $5,000 or $7,000 for an amount which doesn't impact the school at all, or do we not pay it and we get an adverse thing on the audit? So while we don't want to get anything adverse on the audit, this decision is somewhat easy because we also don't want to burden the taxpayers with another $5,000 or $7,000 for something that we have no need to kind of know at that point. So it's not that we're not looking to answer the auditor's questions. It's just that in this case, this question has to do something which has nothing to do with the Goffstown school system, and it requires you to bring in an actuary to come up with a number that no one's really going to look at in the future anyways, because at that point, it's under the New Hampshire retirement system. So it's not something we're trying to get out of. It's just something that is part of the New Hampshire retirement system at that point and not part of Goffstown at that point. So we're choosing not to spend that $5,000 or $7,000. Partly, it makes us look bad because we have that adverse, opinion on there, but I'm appreciative of the question because then we get to explain that part to it as well. So the way to fix that would be to spend $5,000 or $7,000 and then get a number which most people would never even look at or consider because it has nothing to do with current or future taxes or current or future budget for the Goffstown School District. So the other question was in regards to MST and that $250,000 shortfall. So not too long ago, MST or other technical schools within the state was paid 25% by the local school and 75% from the state. So for years now, that percentage has been shifting to more of paid by the local schools. So last year, I think it was about 54% paid by the local schools and the remainder, 46% paid by the state. We don't know what the state's going to pay until the following year when we get our final bill from MST. So the state has a certain amount that they pay, and they divide it by all of the students in the state who go to a technical school. So they're not paying their 75%, and at that point, we have to make up the difference for that.
Thank you. And I've invited Jared to answer one of the other questions.
Doug got it.
Oh, did he cover them? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Sierra Hubbard, 49 Holly Street. Super quick question. We don't have to go into a lot of detail, but it's related to Article 6 and that whole RSA that requires the district to estimate the revenue and expenses if you have the open enrollment thing. Is that something that's included in this, or like would be included if Article 6 passes, or? That was my question.
No, it's not included. Okay. Okay. Okay, any other questions on Article 2? Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Mackenzie. I live at Tipping Rock Road. A general question: at the rate that the statists are putting money into local schooling, when do you anticipate that the state will take complete control of the budget and then have complete control over education?
Okay, thank you for your question.
And if you would repeat the increase in state participation over the past whatever number of years they've been doing it. But state control is a dead-end street. It's more dead-end than what we already have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on Article 3? Seeing none, I'm going to close the discussion on Article 2, and move to Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to restrict reconsideration on warrant Article 2.
Mr. Talbot has made a motion to restrict reconsideration. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second from Mr. Carbonell. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration on Article 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, that means we will not go back and revisit Article 2. Okay, looking at Article 3, this is, as there's some discussion of this already, is the collective bargaining agreement between the school district and the Goffstown Education Association, which lays out the increases over 4 years, which the statute permits, and appropriates a sum of $1,952,009 for 2027 fiscal year to be offset by special revenue, federal revenue fund, and increased tuition from the New Boston School District, with a balance to be raised by tuition. The statute on collective bargaining agreement authorizes that cost items, and only cost items, can be brought before the legislative body, before this group. So what the voting on is on the number, not other provisions that don't relate to the cost. That's why it's presented in this form. Heather, do you have a motion to bring this forward?
I do.
Retta, do you have a second?
Yes.
Okay, and Kate McGrath is going to address it. Kate?
Good evening. My name is Kate McGrath. I'm the Human Resources Director. It's great to see so many people here tonight. Thank you. So the GEA contract, this is our fourth presentation on what has been negotiated between the board and the Goffstown Education Association. So this presentation will be a little bit different. It will be more concise, focused on the importance of the teacher contract, but you can go back and view the other three presentations, one made to the school board and one made to the budget committee, and then one at the budget committee public hearing. So additional information can be found with the details, more language changes through any of those presentations. Also listed here on this slide is just a screenshot of where you can find the redlined version of the contract with the language changes that were negotiated between the teachers and the board. So you can reference back to that for where to find that redline document. So our moderator just had this slide up, and this is the warrant language that will appear before the voters in March. The bottom section of this is highlighted where it says the remaining amount of $1,612,392 to be raised by taxation. So the year one estimated cost is listed above, just over 1.9 million. But that money is offset by two other sources, one being grant funding and another being special revenue fund, the grant funding, and then an additional amount that's going to be estimated from increased tuition revenue from New Boston. So the amount that we are asking in year one from the operating budget is $1,612,392. So who is the Goffstown Education Association? We mostly tend to think about Goffstown Education Association as our classroom teachers, but there are other professional staff that are covered by this agreement. There are a total of 258.2 full-time equivalents covered by this agreement. So we don't split up bodies. Those are just part-time positions that are comprised under this and covered under this agreement. So yes, it contains our classroom teachers, as well as our special education teachers, the unified art teachers, PE, music, art, our related service providers, such as our speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists, and other professional credentialed or licensed positions that are covered by this agreement include our BCBA, that's our board certified behavior analyst, school counselors, school psychologists, and our school nurses. So we want to talk about what the priorities were with this contract as we entered into negotiations. So the first priority was to clean up and establish definitive language in the contract, provide some areas of clarification around issues that had been raised during the course of the current contract, as well as some modification to update current practices. So again, all of those redlined language changes can be found on our website. The contract is posted for anybody to view and see what those language changes are. The second priority was to delineate and clarify leave language in the contract. So that includes changes to sick bank language and defining leave reasons and actions. So quite a bit of work and changes you'll find in the redline version relating to leaves. Lastly, our focus is to make sure that we can attract and retain teachers within the Goffstown School District. So our goal within the proposals that we make with the Goffstown Education Association is to get the GEA to the 50th percentile. So you'll see in a couple of future slides that there are towns that we benchmark against. They are towns of similar makeup relative to the size of the district, but more importantly, they're towns that are close in geography. So who are we competing with? Where would our teachers drive for these positions? And our goal when we're looking at the benchmarking is to make sure that we're at least at the 50th percentile so that we're paying competitive wages. The second priority around attracting and retaining our teachers was to get starting salaries at or above $50,000. So we'll talk about that goal. And then the third piece around the attracting and retaining is to provide opportunities for career learning and growth. And again, all of those language changes around the professional development pieces you can find online. So this is a slide that shows the benchmarking based on this fiscal year, the current contract, and it's a lot of information. It's got each track that is within the pay scale for the teachers. So when I say track, you have your bachelor's degree, folks that have earned that degree, that is one track, and then B15, B plus 30, those are additional credits that have been received or earned beyond the bachelor's degree. Same with master's up to employees who have earned either a doctorate or a CAGS, which is a certificate of advanced programs, graduate studies. So those are the different tracks, and you can see within our benchmarking, the towns listed there that we search for, we seek to be at the 50th percentile or listed below. And the highlighted row there shows where we currently stand against achieving that 50th percentile for our teachers. So we are as far below the 50th for the bachelor's plus 30 at 9.5%. And as close as 2.2% when we're looking at the top of the scale. So going into this contract, we knew that we had work to do, forecasting out an additional year when additional contracts are being negotiated and other contracts that have those rates already negotiated. So we were focusing on trying to get these benchmark numbers to the 50th percentile. So a little bit of a deeper dive into the benchmarking. This is just a sampling of some of those towns where you can see the bachelor's starting variance. On the sample towns that are included, you can see we're as high as Concord. I believe that number says $8,693. So somebody starting in Concord could go there and earn $8,600 more. On the master's ending scale, those same sampling towns, you can see we are just slightly over Hooksett by $1,200 with the master's ending, but as much as $16,000 below Concord. So again, that's just a sampling to give you an idea when we're looking at that 50th percentile and trying to get to those, the 50th percentile, that's a sampling of where teachers could go and have wages impacted by that dollar amount. So why is this data important? In addition to the benchmarking, we have I don't want to call it a crisis. I don't want to ring the bell and sound alarms. But if you look at the application data chart here, this is a sampling of the applications that we receive for elementary positions. And in the top left, this data goes back to 2016 when we started our electronic applicant tracking system. And we used to get as many as 280 applications for an open elementary position. Today, we are getting on average 37. So as we continue to compete with the towns that are surrounding, again, that dollar number that we talk about becomes critically important so that we make sure we have a competitive opportunity to attract and retain the good staff that we have. In addition to the competitive nature of the application, so there are fewer applicants that are coming into the applicant pool, those same districts are now competing for 37 applicants versus 276 just 10 years ago. Some of the things that are driving this is the enrollment in teacher prep programs is declining. So when we look at data from the United States teacher prep programs from 2011, 2012 to 10 years later, you can see that the drop has gone from 88,000 enrollment down to 880,000 down to 591,000. So a significant decline in that 10-year period, and you can see the enrollment in the teacher prep programs in New Hampshire has declined from 4,177 to just under 2,800 in that same time period. We also know that several of our local New Hampshire educator prep programs are closing due to these declines in enrollment. One of our partners that we have an apprenticeship program that we work with to help support new teachers in the journey to get certified reported that we are losing up to 27 programs in coming years from our local state schools. So the agreement that is going to go before the voters is a proposal for a 4-year agreement starting July of '26, going through June of 2030. In year 1, the adjustments that were made to the wages are a little bit complicated. It wasn't just a straight % increase. You'll remember that we talked about that goal of increasing the starting wage to $50,000. So the adjustment that was made was to put 5% to the top of the salary grid so that we could adjust and try to get to that 50th percentile for those top end teachers on step 18. And then what we did is there's currently 3% between the steps, and we consolidated that so each step would now be 2.5% instead of 3%. And by doing that, that brought up the starting wages at the starting step 1 of the grid. So what that resulted in, again, trying to get to staff to the 50th percentile, in year 1, the aggregate employee average increase would be 5,600, or an average of 8.89%. In year 2, a little bit simpler, the grid was adjusted by 3%, and employees would move 1 step if available. In addition, in year 2, our bachelor's track currently has a cap where employees cannot move past step 13. So regardless of how many years of experience they have, if they have not earned enough credits to move to the bachelor's plus 15 track, they get stuck at step 13, while all of the other tracks can continue to move up to step 18. We have started to lose candidates through the hiring process. We've had offers be declined because that top end for the people with that experience, it's no longer competitive. So in year 2, the cap to the bachelor's track would be removed, and there would currently be 11 employees that would move to their appropriate step based on their years of experience. So they would recoup the years that they've lost. They wouldn't get retro pay, but they would now be placed where their experience puts them on the salary grid. So the year 2 aggregate employee average increase is just shy of $3,400, or 4.85%. And then in years 3 and 4, again, a 3% adjustment is made to the grid, resulting in average increases at $3,150 and $3,200 respectively, or 4.24% and 4.17% respectively. So now we are revisiting the benchmarking here, and this is showing where we would estimate based on our proposal for us to align with the FY27 increases. So you can see at the starting wages, the first box at the top, we are closer, and not every track is the same. So bachelor's plus 15, for an example, we're still going to be 3% below the 50th percentile, but on the master's, we're going to be a little bit above the 50th percentile by 3.8%. On the top step wages, which is the second box there, you can see that it ranges, most of them were right on target at the 50th percentile. Bachelor's plus 15 is a little bit above at 2.8. Bachelor's plus 30 is a little bit below at 3.6%. So That's where the first-year agreement lines up with the goal of getting to the 50th percentile and our benchmarking. In addition to the proposed wage increases, we are also proposing that the co-curricular stipends get increased in this contract. So that would be both our sports positions and our non-sports positions. During the course of this contract, there were no increases to stipends. So our coaches and advisors have not received an increase for the countless hours that they spend after school with the programming that they do to support our children, our students. So in this year, we are proposing, in this agreement, we are proposing the same adjustments that got made to the grid, 5% in year 1 and 3% in years 2, 3, and 4. So again, just to summarize, our goal is to have a 50-50 agreement. So revisiting what that means, starting wages at $50,000 and getting the employees to the 50th percentile. This chart here shows what that cost breakdown is. So you saw on the first slide what the numbers would appear on the warrant, and at the bottom of this slide where it says total salary related increases, that number is highlighted there in that yellow block. Those are the numbers that are consistent with those numbers on the warrant, and this just breaks it down what pieces are attributable to the salary, what pieces are attributable to the other related expenses like FICA and New Hampshire retirement system, the co-curricular increases, and there is a proposed increase for some professional development support. So looking at what the tax impact of this article is, focusing on the green box at the bottom, as Jared explained, the math on a $416,000 house, the estimated increase to that $416,000 house would be $241.63. And I'll turn it over to the moderator for questions.
Thank you. That was a detailed explanation. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Samantha Kearns, 5 Washington Street. I wasn't able to attend our public hearing, but if I could have, as a member of the Budget Committee, I also would have voted to recommend this article.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, moderator. Brian Mazer, 39 Shirley Park Road. My question is more broadly for this particular article, and I'm not advocating for or against it. I guess my question is, and I wanted to get an official response from the board, is when someone votes potentially yay for this particular article, why are we missing some information when it comes to the total financial impact? Because it's a 4-year agreement. We saw year 1, but when you say yes, you're committing to 4 years of a financial commitment over 4 years. You're not going to be assessed that first year, but people have to realize, need to see the complete information. If they vote for it, they're signing up for a 4-year increase in their taxes. So that's my question.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Bob Wayne. I'm on Grady Hill. I see this increase, 1.6. I'm just wondering, because I'm figuring out now that most superintendents are paid more than the governors of the states. So I was wondering how much money is going to the superintendent's salary?
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Eric Gibson Johnson on Clinton Street here in town. More of a comment than a question. If people are having questions about the low percentages on math and reading and language, if we go through, we take a contract like this away from our teachers, it's not going to get better. if we don't put the faith in our teachers to do what needs to be done, and I have no kids in the school system, if we don't put the faith in our teachers to get done what needs to get done, then those numbers are only going to get worse, and the community is only going to suffer because of it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Scott Markinson, 31 Hooksett Road. I have a question. Earlier was mentioned that the raises for this, the raises are built into the current budget. Is this year one on top of that or separate from that? That there's some raise built in? I'm just trying to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll recognize. Go ahead, ma'am. Then we'll answer some of the questions.
Karen Miniowski, 22 Rochambeau Street. My question is, why are salaries based on your education versus a teacher's ability to teach? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Tarrant will answer some of the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. For the questions that are there, I'll try to actively repeat. One of the questions was the GEA contract. This does not include administration. This is not including the superintendent. That's an SAU position. We're talking about district positions. This doesn't include principals. This doesn't include assistant principals. This doesn't include the dean of students. As was listed out, these members, and I will bring it back up so that we can see who makes up the GEA. The GEA is the classroom teachers, the special educators, the industrial arts or unified arts. Back when I was in school, it was industrial arts. Related services for speech, OT. This is the GEA. These are not administrators that are making up this contract, nor is asking for this money. Another question was related to monies in the current operating budget. The current contract with the GEA expires this year. So the teachers that are listed there do not get raises next year in the operating budget. In order for them to get raises, these 258.2 individuals would need to have this approved in order to get a raise next year, the next fiscal year. So if this didn't pass, they do not get raises. They stay where they are right now. And then, Kate, did you want to answer the third one? But as it comes to the bands or the tracks, this is what's used from a state and I believe even most of the surrounding area. But Kate, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jared. So as Jared just said, this is typically how the teachers are paid based on the education. I think, in a lot of industries, as individuals earn additional credits, additional knowledge, there are adjustments that are made to wages based on those earnings. This just happens to be in a very fixed grid presentation of said earnings. And then Brian, Mr. Mazur, I just wanted to go back to your question. So when the warrant is presented to the voters, all 4 years of the contract are listed there that the voters see before them as they're choosing to vote to support or not this article.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on Article 3? Seeing none, I'm going to close the discussion on Article 3 and move to Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, motion to restrict
A
reconsideration.
motion made to restrict reconsideration. Is there a second? Okay. A motion's made and seconded. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration on Article 3, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Article 4, in a sense, this is easy. I'm going to set up for Jared, but as I mentioned before, certain articles cannot be amended, including articles whose wording is prescribed by statute. This is one of them. So, Jared, that's your introduction.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I will not take 5 minutes. I will go the quick version. Warrant Article 4 talks about, shall the Goffstown School District continue negotiations with the GEA if Article 3 fails? So if for some reason the warrant article, Article 3, the GEA teacher contract, does not pass, warrant Article 4 is an ask to say, should the governing body, the school district, be able to continue to meet with the GEA and come to an agreement? And if so, we will have a special election in the April or May timeframe. It will be one location, probably right here at the high school, for a special election to talk specifically about the GEA, the amended GEA contract that will only be for cost. We're estimating this to be about $5,000 to $10,000 to have a special election that will be moderated by our very handsome Mr. Jim, to be here to have another vote so that if Article 3 did fail, this is an opportunity to get our teachers a raise as part of passing warrant article number 4. With that, I give it back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Are there any questions on Article 4? Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha, 5 Washington Street, Apartment 4. The Budget Committee didn't vote on this, so I'm not going to give you all my opinion. But I just had a curious hypothetical. If Article 3 passes and this motion passes, nothing happens.
That's right, because it's conditional upon the defeat of the prior article. So
Okay.
we'll have
So if-
no
If Article
effect.
3 passes, it really doesn't matter what Article 4 does.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion, any other questions on Article 4? Seeing none, I'm going to end the discussion on Article 4. Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to restrict reconsideration.
Is there a second? Better? All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article 4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move to Article 5. This is the Facilities Capital Reserve Fund deposit to raise and appropriate up to $300,000 for deposit into the existing Facilities Capital Reserve Fund to come from the unassigned fund balance available for transfer in July 1, 2026. No new amount raised from taxation. Jack, do you have a motion to bring this forward? Yes. Mr. Carbonneau moves to bring it forward. Laura, do you have a second? Yes. Okay, second to bring it forward. Mr. Talbot, you're going to address?
Just looking into the crowd, do people have this as a PowerPoint? Because I ran out and don't have this on mine, the paper copies up here. So shake of heads, do people have this? No? Yes? No? Okay, well, I'll give you a brief history lesson. I'll keep it under 5 minutes. The Capital Reserve Fund, or what we call the CRF, was created in 2019. This was a way that the school district could replace capital items within the district itself. Prior to the CRF, capital items, so replacement of like bleachers, fire panels, doors, those were either A, part of the operating budget that most likely were cut out by the Budget Committee, or B, they were funded through the unreserved fund balance at the end of the year. Our SAU 19 agreement does have something called a rental fee. So that area agreement that we have with New Boston says we have a rental fee here in Goffstown. And what that is for them paying us money for our school system and being able to replenish some of our capital assets here. This is considered a revenue for Goffstown, but it is in the GEA, and what this does is gives us traceability. I love that term. But because of New Boston sending students to the middle school and the high school, their rental fee is roughly $293,000 that they give us in our general fund. That's supposed to go to school improvements. So when we look at the CRF, we look at the area agreement, this is really having that traceability that we can tell New Boston, you're sending us this money because it's in the area agreement, this is what we're using it for. The CRF also ensures that we are investing in our infrastructure. We basically will provide you line items of what we're doing with this money and it's not part of a general fund. It's a separate CRF fund that is audited by everybody, and we talk about it pretty much at the board meetings on how we're spending this money. What we're looking at is the capital reserve fund history. So it does go only from June 30th, 2024, but you can see we put $250,000 into the CRF, and we use that money. So last year we spent for the MVMS roof, locker room, updating the epoxy floors that were worn, replacing our wrestling mats that we had because they were old, they were stank, and they needed to be done. This year, what I've highlighted in yellow is what we've spent the money on. So we did receive $300,000 from the legislative body last year. And what did we spend it on? $118,000 was to replace our phone system. We could not get replacement phones. We did not have the software to have phones. So we basically had to install a new district-wide phone system within Goffstown. We had the core switches. Again, I talk about IT. Core switches is how we control our internet traffic, making sure that there's enough capacity so that every parent that goes in at 5 o'clock to see their kids' grades in Power School, we can handle that traffic. Those do fail over time. They need to be replaced. We also see the cistern project. So many people may not know what a cistern is, but basically that is a large jug of water of thousands and thousands of gallons of water that we use for fire suppression at the middle school. That needed to be repaired. That money of $285,000 is what we had to do to repair that internal of that cistern so that we had fire suppression at the middle school. That is why we did not have summer school at the middle school this past summer. It was at a different school. And then we had the replacement of our GHS softball field. Jack was kind enough to hold up the numbers for each of the scores or the Ks that were occurring in the softball field. But, you know, he got a little tired of it, and we had to replace that monitor or that scoreboard that we had. And then you will see that we are putting in money as an earmark for the turf field replacement. The turf field will only last us 10 to 12 to 15 years, depending on how we use it. And I wish we used it more so that we could have more playoff games for both the football, the soccer, lacrosse, everything. But we have to make sure that we start putting money into that reserve fund and holding it there for that replacement that occurs. What are we going to use the money if we're blessed enough to have this approved by the voters? We're looking at prioritizing safety and security. We are going to be projected to spend $131,000 on our metal doors here at the high school for those replacements. You think metal doors, they should last a long time. They do. But you don't just replace the doors, you have to replace the frames. You got to re-anchor the metal frames into the concrete. You got to make sure that it is safe and hard to break into the schools. $20,000 for smoke detectors. I said it during the budget committee meeting. Who has those chirps that go off at home and just live with it year over year? Well, you know, that just means that you should be replacing your smoke detectors. Same thing here at the school systems. Those have a shelf life, an end of life. We need to replace those. $65,000 for our firewall. This handles our incoming traffic into the building. Our current firewall basically is no longer supported. You know, that hardware gets end of life. We need new hardware so that we can continue to operate our schools safely and efficiently. And then our networking switches, again, going to that sustainability we talked about. And then that $50,000 we want to deposit into the CRF so that we can do the field replacement, hopefully within 8 to 10 years from now. So this is what we're projected to conduct if we are able to receive that $300,000. And I'm getting started. I will go further because I have it committed to memory. There are other projects that are approved by our capital improvement planning board for the CIP. Those items are also listed out on the site. Those are not priorities now, but the planning committee has seen the need to do that and make sure that we have money in place to do those as well. Those are unknowns. However, there's a list of roughly a couple hundred, close close to a couple $100,000 in additional projects that we'd be looking at. As Mr. Totten kind of puts it back up. There are also roof repairs that we have at the middle school and all the other schools. That includes Maple, that includes Glen Lake. Again, roofs. We don't want that water damage to come in. Steve's not here. It's all you, Doug. He is here? He's coming up? Yeah, that was basically it. So I'm going to hand it back so that I stay under the 5 minutes. And Mr. Moderator, I turn it back to you.
Thank you. Well, let me talk over you. Are there any questions on Article 5? Jared did a good job fudging it because when the screen went blank. Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Kearns, 5 Washington Street. As you might all be aware, I missed the public hearing. If I was there, I also would have voted in favor of the Capital Reserve Fund deposit. And just while they're getting things restarted, Capital Reserve funds are amazing. Jared talked about how it's going towards, like, we're putting money aside to fixing the turf field in, 10-year-ish from now, right? And capital reserve funds allow us to use a savings account, basically, so that we're not all hit with a giant $1 million turf field replacement one year. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions on this article? Yes, ma'am.
Liz Dolan, 356 Worthley Hill Road. So this is basically permission to use the New Boston money? Is that what we're giving it? What was the connection between the rental fee from New Boston and this fund? Or is this in addition to that money? I just don't know.
I'll let Jared answer that in a minute, but Mr. Mazur, go ahead.
Thank you, Moderator. Brian Mazur, 39 Shirley Park Road. I don't have a question. I have an ask for consideration by the board. And I don't think it's statutory language, but in this article, it says there's language at the end, no new amount to be raised from taxation. So my ask is this: if you can change your financial policy language to be more appropriate, where it says this appropriation uses existing funds from prior tax collections and or unspent budget balances. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on Article 5? Ms. Talbot, do you want to address the one question that was asked?
Thank you for the question. So right now, they send us that $283,000 as a general revenue. What our ask is that we put it into the CRF. And CRF is a separate account that we use to basically replenish existing capital assets. So it's just that traceability when New Boston says to us, what are you using the money that we say, so that we will continue in our next area agreement, we can point to this list and say, this is what we did.
Any other questions on Article 5? Seeing none, I'll close the discussion on Article 5. Mr. Talbot, do you want to make a motion?
A motion to restrict reconsideration, please. Yes, I do.
Okay, seconded. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration on Article 5, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move to Article 6. This is involving the open enrollment school district statute. Shall the Goffstown School District vote to adopt the provisions of New Hampshire RSA 194D and become an open enrollment school district under the terms of the RSA to admit 5 students from outside the Goffstown School District into kindergarten at the Glen Lake School and to establish that 0 of the resident student population are eligible to seek enrollment outside of the district. Shane, do you have a motion to bring this forward? Caroline, do you have a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to bring it forward. Moderator recognizes Mr. Balke to address this.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Brian Balke, the Superintendent of Schools. So what I'd like to do is provide a little bit of an overview of what this is. So if you've been paying attention to the news, there's a lot that's been going on with respect to open enrollment in New Hampshire schools. This warrant article would establish Goffstown as being an open enrollment district. And let me explain a little bit about what this is and why. So as you'll see here, New Hampshire RSA 194D has existed since 2009. It's only recently that there's been a Supreme Court case in New Hampshire that has brought this to the forefront. So let me explain a little more about this. So since 2009, school districts have been able to accept students. And basically what would happen is if you become an open enrollment school district, you accept students at a reduced cost. And what's happened here is the warrant article would allow for up to 5 kindergarten students to attend Glen Lake School and restrict that 0 students could leave the Goffstown School District as open enrollment students going to another town. And the reason for this has been because of, in the fall of 2025, there was a Supreme Court decision in Pittsfield, New Hampshire. And this, the Supreme Court found, so it was originally an appeal that went to the State Board of Education, and when there's a disagreement with the State Board of Education, those appeals go up to the state Supreme Court. And what the Supreme Court found is that even if you don't adopt the provisions of being an open enrollment school district, you still have to pay. So what happened in Pittsfield is a student left the Pittsfield School District and enrolled in a new online school through Mount Prospect Academy. Now, when this happened, Mount Prospect Academy sent a bill to the Pittsfield School District. The Pittsfield School District got that bill and said, we're not paying this. We are not an open enrollment district. We are not participating in this, and we will not pay it. That goes to the state board, gets appealed to the state Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, you must pay. So essentially, this warrant article would give us a little bit of protection in terms of the potential exposure for students leaving through the open enrollment program. Now, I will tell you that this is happening pretty fast and furiously. So there's a hearing this week on a bill that will potentially negate this. So we don't know what's going to happen. The legislature, I'll only let them speak for themselves. But as of right now, the example that I'd like you all to see is the one that I have on the screen behind me. So right now, if a student is attending Goffstown High School, and for whatever reason, they wanted to attend school virtually or remotely, students in New Hampshire are able to enroll in a New Hampshire charter school that is the Virtual Learning Academy. When that happens, it is free for New Hampshire students to attend the Virtual Learning Academy. Now, they do get more money in adequacy than traditional public schools, but I'll forego that for a minute. So if we lost 5 students from Goffstown High School, we would lose their state adequacy money, which would be about $21,000. However, if those same 5 students, instead of attending the charter school, Virtual Learning Academy, if they went to this new Granite State Academy, we would lose the $21,000 in state aid, and then we'd have to pay $71,000 on top of it. So the question fundamentally before all of you this evening, and then ultimately the voters, would be, are you okay with that? So this warrant article, and again, we don't know what's going to happen with these bills that are going through the legislative process right now, but as of right now, this would reduce the amount of exposure we would potentially have to be paying for students to attend schools in other towns. That's essentially what's before us. There's a lot to unpack here, so that's a high-level overview. I would stop there and direct it back to the moderator for questions, but at this point, what we're looking to do is to become an open enrollment district. We're willing to accept 5 kids coming in and 0 kids going out, and the reason is because of that Supreme Court decision in Pittsfield. Thank you.
Thank you. There's been a motion made to amend. I want to confirm the people who have made this. Shannon Carey, where are you? And the second is Jessica Putin. Is she here? Putin. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, yeah, okay. I guess that would have some political significance. I apologize. And it's to strike the proposed numerical limit, replace with the following. The district may accept 25 open enrollment for the upcoming year. I'm assuming that is still in the same school, and subject to available capacity, and shall not set the number of outbound students to 0. I'll let you address the motion to amend.
So the 25 students would be district-wide based on capacity limits within each school. The not setting it to 0, I could go on forever about that. The first thing would be, we've already heard tonight during other presentations that we're spending over $200,000 to allow kids to dual enroll at MST. I am a huge advocate for school choice. I am so glad we have that program. I'm sure there are plenty of kids that is setting them up for success. The school board has stated publicly this year they have no desire to cap that, which I fully support. Don't cap it. We need to set kids up for success. But then you cannot, in turn, take an open enrollment policy and set a cap to that, saying it's unfair to the taxpayer or to this or to that, when we as the taxpayers we don't even get a say in the MST thing. I support it, but that's not something that comes up for a vote to the taxpayers. It's just part of your budget. So that's one of the reasons. The other thing is there is a court case, or there is a bill working its way through the House right now, and if that passes, I don't know if that puts you guys in a legal debacle, because that would say everything you just put in place, or you want to put in place, can't stand. So I don't know if that then has to be another special election to amend what you guys have already done. And then I look at unintended consequences. Charter schools are completely regulated by a completely different RSA, but if you have legal language already in school policy for our community that states 0 students can leave the district, that opens the door for kids like my child, who's at a charter high school in another district, to now maybe be told they can't attend in that district. They have to come here. So I think there's a lot of unintended consequences. I get there's a lot to what you guys put into it, and I understand there may be a lot that maybe the state could do with it, but at the same time, you can't have a policy over here that says we're not capping, we're letting kids be set up for success, but not these kids.
Thank you. What we're going to address is the amendment, and then we can vote on whether to approve the amendment. Go ahead.
Thanks. Samantha Kearns, 5 Washington Street. So I have 2 questions. One, why is Virtual Learning Academy, aka VLAX, right? Why is that so much, why doesn't that cost the Goffstown School District any money? And why does Granite State Academy, if they're both online schools, it doesn't really seem like there's a big difference between the two. And then my second question would be, in the passing of this warrant article, Sans amendment, establishing 0 resident student population are eligible to seek enrollment outside the district, does that include VLAX? Thanks.
I'm sorry.
So my second question is, if we say that if the warrant article were to pass exactly as it's written, and to establish that 0 of the resident student population are eligible to seek enrollment outside the district, does that mean that 0 of the resident student population are eligible to seek enrollment at the Virtual Learning Academy, which currently doesn't cost us any money? Like, are we also restricting students from doing that?
I'll let the proponent of the
I can see
the
Mr.
article.
Balke is ready to go with that
okay,
one.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Ma'am.
Hi, Jessica Putin, Lesnick Road. I just have a few statements on it. So an empty seat costs taxpayers money. If we have empty seats in schools, I agree with Shannon, allowing more than the 5 to come in, because an occupied seat at 80% recovers costs. Taxpayers already pay 100% of fixed costs, so 80% would offset those costs. And I'm going to make it quick because I know everyone's tired. We often say we're known for having great teachers and strong schools. If that's true, and I believe it, my child's not leaving, but if you could fund cheer, that would be great. Then we shouldn't be afraid to give families options, because strong systems don't fear choice, they earn it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sierra Hubbard, 49 Holly Street. I was hoping someone could speak to, I read the RSA. I don't think, it doesn't sound like we can do language that says anywhere in the district subject to X, Y, and Z. It sounds like the RSA gives us the ability to specify a school and a grade. So I was hoping someone could confirm if that's correct. I don't know that we can do that under the law. And then, just opinion-wise, I don't think we should leave it unlimited, because that could cost a lot of money. So I would not be in favor of that, but thank you.
I will note the Supreme Court decision that Mr. Balke discussed, I have a copy of it if you want to read it afterwards, goes into more detail and I guess interprets the statute and puts some meaning on some of the words in the statute. That is how the court now interprets it. So that sits on top of the statutory wording. You need to read both at your leisure afterwards. Any other questions before I'm going to ask Mr. Balke to come up? Are you coming forward? I am. Okay.
Hi, Melanie Renfrew-Hebert, 23 College Road, Goffstown, Bernardville. Thank you all for being here today, and I've really enjoyed the presentation. My concern is this. First, the microphone. There we go. My concern is this. I moved to this community, number one, primarily because of the school system. We've seen today that we have, we have a little bit of work to do. We have a fantastic school system. And we are threatening our school system with this program. First, we're going to have a further divide, and what's most important to me, a further divide of the students who can go to different schools in different communities, and we will have students whose parents or are able to provide and have them go to those other communities. They will further divide the students here in Goffstown from other opportunities. Just my feelings on this. And I know that we have a fantastic board here at our school system, and I know that they are working as hard as they can to provide the best education in Goffstown. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Balke, do you want to address some of the comments? Why don't you come up here, please? Brett.
So just a couple of general thoughts. In terms of competition, I welcome competition. And I absolutely believe that we would have a lot of people that will want to come to school in Goffstown. I think what we're trying to do here is pump the brakes a little bit. So Shannon, with respect to the amendment, the concern that we have is we need to not impact the area agreement. So if there are any impacts of schools between grades 7 to 12 that is potentially problematic with the area agreement, that's specifically why the school board chose to focus on Glen Lake School, kindergarten students only. So I would give the caution that opening this up in a broader sense does require some thoughtful analysis of the area agreement and likely some conversations with New Boston and probably our attorney. So I would advise against opening this up to all schools. The numbers can be amended. So at this meeting, you want to increase and take more than 5, that can happen. You want to allow more kids to go out, that can happen. I do want to show these numbers are real. So 5 kids that want to go to a different online school, this would have a big impact. This would not impact anyone who wants to attend the virtual VLAX, the charter school. This is only for other open enrollment plans. Now, what's going to happen with this? I have no idea. We could ask a couple of our state reps who are in the audience tonight. There seems to be a lot of momentum that we want to make open enrollment available across all towns in this state. If that happens, that likely negates this. That likely negates that. If that doesn't happen, then this would give us some protection based on the Supreme Court decision. So that's all I would offer with respect to the amendment. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Shannon Carey, 16 Gorham Pond Road. So I totally respect what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. The number 25 is not arbitrary. Before I even came here tonight, I wanted to do a lot of research because I didn't want to just come up here and throw a pie in the sky number that was going to put the district in a position to just be screwed over, for lack of a better word. But I also want to make sure that the families in the community have their choice as well. And based on the school's own design capacity and current capacity levels, you have 93 seats available at Glen Lake, 56, or excuse me, you have nothing at the elementary school. My kid's graduating this year, I don't remember. At Maple, you're actually over at Maple, but you have 56 seats available. Oh, my screen's not getting bigger. Ultimately, you have over 400 seats available in this school district. You can spare 25. As for the cost, I know someone had said if you have no cap, that could really blow up in your face. Well, the beauty of having the cap and having it based on the different schools' availability is you're going to see, before we even get to the school year, what you have coming to you. That way, if you're going, oh man, we have so many kids that want to leave, you can put forward another article next year and put the cap on and say, this is what happened, we need to close this off. But to close it off before you've even allowed parents the choice, that's the part that I struggle with.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Bodwin, 3 Palmer Road. I'm just questioning the students, let's say 5, let's say 25. Aren't we receiving tuition for them coming here? So if we're losing students that aren't happy with the education that they're getting and they're going elsewhere, we would be gaining tuition from the students that are coming. So it really shouldn't matter how many we do or don't let if there's 400 seats available.
Thank you.
Samantha Kearns, 5 Washington Street. I think I just want to be super clear. This is just for Glen Lake. Obviously has the early education preschool. This doesn't impact that at all, correct? This is just 6-year-old kindergarten. Okay, thanks.
As I understand, the amendment is without respect to the school, so it's 25 throughout the district.
Okay, so the district could impact the preschool portion of Glen Lake.
It's 25 throughout the school district. That's correct, Ms. Carey. That was your. Correct. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi there, Chris Leach, North Mast. I just want a point of clarification, and I don't know if it's from Shannon or from Brian maybe, but when we say no students can leave, does that mean no students can choose another school, or does that mean we're not going to pay the tuition for them to do that? In a sense, they'll still have the freedom to go if they would like to get a better education, but we wouldn't foot the bill. Is that what that means?
Yeah, Brian, you want to say yes on the record for that?
Yeah, I would. I would agree. So, and also, people have other choices. So you have education freedom accounts. In the state of New Hampshire, there are 10,000 people that have education freedom accounts right now that they can basically take their money and they can buy whatever programming they want. Next year, that increases to 12,500. So there are other options. They can still attend any other charter schools. It would just be the school district isn't paying to send them to any open enrollment schools.
Okay. Do I get a second one,
Yes.
Mr. Moderator?
You got 2.
In knowing that now, I think about, I guess this is a comment, I think some folks in the seats here with kids can say, I'm paying this money into the school district, I'm not going to use it, I have to then pay tuition to another school, so I'm paying twice. But I don't know the number, but I wonder how many residents are in our town that don't have kids at all, that are still paying their portion into the school system. There's a beautiful school system available, and if you don't choose to use it, that's great, and you'll have to pay for that yourself. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Shannon Rosmus, 79 Warren Ave. I'm just wondering at which point of how many students leaving would the cost actually decrease for us? So meaning our taxes would have to go up in order to cover these 5 students because you're not losing a teacher with 5 students. It's only a net loss, right? There's no way we can recoup any money from 5 students leaving. You'd have to have 100 students leave from the high school to talk about teachers leaving or something to that effect, or 25 students just in 2nd grade leave. Is that correct, that it would actually increase our taxes if 5 students left and took their $72,000 with them?
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Jessica Putin, Lesnick Road. So on students leaving the district, I actually had my daughter in private before she went to public, starting in 6th grade, and I paid taxes and I also paid for her private school. So I was that person. I love our schools, but I think we should have those options, and I think all parents should. But when your, students are leaving because their parents are, willing to foot the bill, we should allow more students in so that we have that revenue coming in. Because if we're saying, no, we're not allowing you to, you have to pay for it yourself, but we're not having any revenue coming in, we're having those empty seats. I just want people to think about that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sierra Hubbard, 49 Holly Street. So one, I would just say that if there was an amendment that was upping that, again, increasing what we're taking in, and maybe you want to set a different number for who can go out that's above 0, that's fine. I just think making it unlimited is a really terrible idea. Also, I just wanted to reiterate my question about whether we can actually do this legally, like if anyone knows, because I think that's really important. So if someone could weigh in on that, because I think, be as important to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Liz Dolan, 356 Worthley Hill Road. I think we all can agree that education is a community good. We all benefit from an informed population. We know about Thomas Jefferson. Education is a good for all of us. But based on this logic that is coming up in this state, people that no longer have children in school should be able to take their money. They're not benefiting from that anymore. They can't do anything. We need to go back to remembering that education is a community good. It's not just about you. And I mean, if you want to go to a private school, yes, it's hard. It might be expensive, but that is your option. You can work to do that. But we work hard as a community to provide a good education. I think we can do better. I think we are a very wealthy state. We are the 7th wealthiest state in this country, and our numbers are not reflecting that. And you know what? I said, our numbers are not good. Let's bump us up to being at the state level, the state average. Put a little more effort in here, because we need our kids. Look at the crisis our country is in. We need people who can think, people who understand science and math and can think.
Okay.
So let's get out of this googly thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill McKenzie, Tipping Rock Road. The number 2 item up there says New Hampshire districts required to pay for any open enrollment, even if that community has not adopted the provisions of the Supreme Court case. The New Hampshire Constitution, Part 2, Article 83, says that it is the inherent and essential right of every parent and child in this state to be able to enjoy the benefits of free and fair competition in the trades and school industries. I added the word school, but it's well established education is an industry. And Arne Duncan, former 8-year Secretary of the United States Department of Ed under Obama, states in his first sentence of his book, How Schools Work, education runs on lies.
Mr. McKenzie, are you addressing this warrant article? Are you addressing this warrant article?
Absolutely.
How so?
Well, we're all entitled, every parent in here, if they so choose, should automatically, under Article 83, and that decision is very vulnerable to court cases if parents are denied that right. It's coming up. It's on it. Eventually, it'll be here.
Okay.
Eventually, what it should be is universal choice in education.
Thank you.
Oh, what a web we weave.
Okay.
When we start to deceive.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kirsty Hazelbaker, 23 Time Way. I have a question. If open enrollment was to pass at the State House, would that then trump EFAs?
I'm sorry?
EFAs.
Okay.
So if we're paying EFA money, for example, I have a couple of issues with this. Number one, if we say any amount of kids can go anywhere, let's try it out. We tried out EFAs. Last year, we spent about $320,000, I think, to send Goffstown kids to other schools. And I think this year there's 120, or last year there were 125 Goffstown kids using EFAs. That if you kind of multiply that out is over $700,000 that we're paying to send Goffstown kids to other schools. So is this in addition to EFAs, or is this?
Could you define EFA, please, for those?
Educational funding accounts, vouchers,
Okay.
funding.
Okay.
I don't think it's freedom.
Okay.
But
whatever.
anyway.
I just want to. I don't like using initials when not everybody knows what they are.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, is this in addition? So if somebody leaves to go to Granite State Academy, our district loses $21,000 in adequacy, spends an additional amount if 5 kids left, an additional amount of $71,600, so $93,000 for 5 kids to leave. In addition to that, because there is no income limit on educational freedom accounts, would their parents also be able to receive EFA money in addition to the $93,000 that we are already paying out of our budget?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lisa Horn and live at 47 Worthley Hill Road. I just wanted to share that under the bill that is before the legislatures in regards to this, the funding piece is really important for us all to understand as taxpayers. We in Goffstown as taxpayers will pay the full freight, the full cost of per pupil cost for our resident students. However, the students that are entering from other towns would receive a discount. They pay 80%, and we're left to foot the rest of that bill as your taxpayers. So I just wanted to share that from a funding perspective.
Thank you. Okay, there's been a series of questions. I think we've talked about the. All right, well, I'm going to see if there's going to be a response to any of the questions. That's enough, sir. Do you want to respond to any of the questions, Mr. Balke?
Just maybe really quickly, this is in addition to EFAs, so you cannot double dip. So if you If you were someone who's seeking to enroll in an open enrollment district somewhere else, you couldn't also get an education freedom account. And with respect to the question about can we actually change this, so there are warrant articles that can be changed in amounts, but the statutory language can't be changed, as the moderator said at the beginning. Warrant article number 2, the budget, is one of those articles. Warrant article number 3 is another one of those. This is a little unprecedented at this point. I don't know that this amendment is legal, because it fundamentally changes the scope of it. And as I said, with all due respect to Shannon, I think I understand what she's going after here in terms of capacity, but this would be potentially problematic with the area agreement. So that's all I would share with that. And there could be a time where Goffstown opens more seats, and look, this could be coming based on this new bill. This could be happening for next year. And when that happens, we'll deal with it. I think Goffstown will be well-positioned, that we'll have a lot of people that will want to come here, but until this is all figured out, this at least restricts what our potential exposure would be.
Okay, I'd like not to just keep
No, I was just
over.
going to say, if people are more amenable to setting a limit, I would just ask that whatever the limit is that you're, sorry, hair in my mouth, whatever you're setting the limit at for who can come in, then that should be the limit you're giving to kids going out. But to say, okay, we're going to allow this many to come in and 0 to go out, you're restricting families. So if you're going to put a limit, then you need to make it both ways.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring the motion forward now, the amendment forward for a vote. The amendment as made is to, I'm going to paraphrase slightly, is that the district may accept 25 open enrollment students without respect to which school for the upcoming year, subject to available capacity, and shall set no limit on the amount of outbound students. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye! All those opposed? No! I'm going to call for a hand vote. Counters? Okay. Do you have your line drawn down the middle, or do you want to? David, how do you want to split up this? Do you want to split them up and down instead of down the middle?
The entire table?
Okay. You guys get? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your card. Those in favor of the amendment, raise your card.
My half of the Senate is 31.
I want you to come here. You're going to help me with math. I choose the counters.
It's biased counting.
Okay. 17, 31, 17, okay. Okay, 2 more counties. David?
Second count.
Okay, keep your hands up, please.
I'm looking at my other counter. Where did he stop?
Okay. Could you guys make clear where the dividing line was?
My other counter hasn't started. What?
No, we've got him.
I got? No, I asked him which row he started. Which row he started?
statement that says that a conservative is to be counted.
She wants me, she's,
I understand. But when she says that, my preference, and I know it would take a long time for everyone out here, my preference would be to go to an actual vote, because I don't want someone
To
who
what,
is a state
a ballot?
representative. Yeah.
You-
I am very concerned that we have a state rep who's accusing us.
she's done that in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we move to a ballot?
You may, if you need 5 people here.
Okay. Okay, because I don't want anyone to go to the state and say that we did something wrong here today. Okay.
27.
Which,
Let's make sure we have this worked
Vote
out.
That-
on the no count.
okay, that's your first count, right? Yep,
Yes. but I
yep.
need 5
I need you. Yep. Okay, we're going to suspend this because there's being a motion made for a secret ballot.
We all love democracy here, right?
Okay, Peter, I need you to get the 5. Okay.
Just put your name down.
Do you have the ballot? Okay, let's move the boxes out.
What color you want, Jim?
Arch? Five. Oh, I'm sorry, 7. Okay. We'll get 7. Okay, we need to move the boxes out to the corners then. You can't, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that, yeah, okay. Yeah, you just have to be cool. Yep. Huh? Around the corner, and the other one over here, the other one, no, Brian, the other one on that side, in that corner. Okay, do you have the motion? Oh, good, it's fine. Okay, a motion's been made to have a written ballot. I want to confirm that the people are here who's made this motion. Peter, you made that motion. Elizabeth, you signed this. Kimberly, you signed this. Chris Leach, where's he? Henry, there's on you signed it. Jared Talbot, yeah, and Shane Rasmus. Okay, what, excuse me, what we're going to do, first I'm going to take a drink. When we're ready, you're going to come up to either box. You're going to present your voter card to the clerk who's there, once you be in that one, who is going to mark your voter card. They're going to hand you a ballot, which is going to, excuse me, be either yes or no. We'll have a pen for you. Please don't take the pen, because I don't have that many. Write on it and put it in the box. Okay, everybody clear?
Can you open the boxes to make sure that they're empty? That's another rule you're supposed to do. That's a state rule. Well, I know, but it's. I already made Dave check this one. I worked in luck.
Okay. Okay,
David, can you confirm that's empty? Yes,
it is. Okay, the ballot clerks are ready, so if you want to line up at either ballot box. It doesn't matter which one. Oh, here, sorry, got to balance, don't we? Okay, a yes vote is for the amendment. I'm gonna have him. No, that's just the motion, yeah. That's just, no, I'll get you in the next one.
2 or 3 5-gallon buckets full of frozen eggs if you want
Must have been a couple of town meeting mic drop moments.
When you're an election official, shut your lips. Even though it doesn't matter, you just gotta be. No, when somebody says something, okay, you're on, you're gonna be a comment. David, do you need help?
I'm Doug Dow. I was going to introduce myself at the beginning, but I had to run out and make some copies, so I didn't have a chance to say hi.
Secret now, had a long time.
Is it? Yeah.
But we knew this one would be the hard one. It's such a political issue.
Yeah, I thought it was this was there, and then back in 25 and 25 out. Another amendment title across that. We'll see, because they don't get to count them up too.
I usually told the people who were going to move, I'll give you one motion. Figure it out. Yeah, just so we don't delay it. I usually want to, but I didn't. I should have. Do not get these serial. That's why I told people if it's just a delay, I'm going to say no. You're directing us not to allow it.
That's good to know that there's some possible Sarah last motions are figured out.
I mean, the proponent's fine, some of the other people.
So it's already been moved to the warrant, so it was fine. It's not the legality of this warrant article, this is the amendment. It was the amendment. The amendment, so this amendment was already approved by the you get what we're trying to do. So here's the other one. This is the sometimes, but I would think that you would be in conflict with this because you might be for the choice, you might believe in the choice, but the cost implications might be problematic. But I'll tell you, let's get this figured out. Let's whatever it's going to be. Not being that land, and if it impacts the area, that's a problem. That's a problem. So we have to be very careful about this as well. Go time. And we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I'm not saying this guy.
Okay, we're closing the ballot on this side so we can start counting. You can still vote on this side.
On this one. On this one.
David. Here. Why don't... David, why don't the people from the baby on over or behind come over here? Let's bring the box around. Okay, has everybody voted who wishes to vote?
Call Lisa Mazer or somebody down here so we can have a conservative.
Oh, bullshit. No, just do it.
Okay.
No, I'm not letting her tell me what
Would you
to
mind
write.
observing the count? Would you mind observing? I got Brian.
Okay.
Let's come up, let's observe. She's done this before.
Oh, yeah.
We're over here.
He's actually way in the back. He's actually looking at a computer. He's got like a green.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, way back there.
All right, cool. Thanks, man.
right.
Appreciate it.
David, you're not done yet.
You're the observer over here.
I'm counting.
Okay, I got David as the observer. I want you, David, I want you just to observe.
I thought you wanted to vote. You want me to observe?
If you start letting her pushing us. Okay. Oh, shit.
I didn't mean to cause a ruckus. I just really just wanted fair representation, and I know both of them are of a certain side. I just wanted it to be fair. I think asking the question wasn't out of line. He told me to go scream at me to go to hell.
No, you shouldn't have done that. That won't choose him for the county. No, of course it is.
I can ask the question.
Yeah, you can ask questions. No, I agree.
It wasn't to question his integrity.
No,
It was just-
no, you're right. No,
Okay, so-
no, you shouldn't have done that, and I remember that. Yeah, okay, we're just,
Don't do that.
yeah, just everybody cool down, yeah.
Thank you.
Making sure to watch.
Okay, we have the results. Hello? Come on, let's go, let's go. Okay, the results of the vote, the written ballot, yes 62, no 112, and one blank vote. So the motion is defeated, and the amendment as proposed remains. I'm hoping that we can go home now. Okay, so the article fails, so we go back to the article as originally proposed, which is, to paraphrase, 5 students from outside Goffstown School District admitted into the kindergarten, and 0 of the residents' student population are eligible to seek enrollment outside of the district. I'm going to call that a vote. Is there any further discussion to come before the meeting? Yes, ma'am.
Is this on? Yeah. Sierra Hubbard, 49 Holly Street. This is more of a technical question. The RSA specifies that to set the limit of leaving the district, it has to be a percentage. So, no? Am I wrong?
The
Okay.
court, I'm not going to offer a legal opinion, but
No, okay, but we're solid on that. That's a,
yeah, there's a lot of discussion on how to interpret that court decision, and that's why I brought a copy for your reading pleasure. So, okay, seeing no further action to come on Article 6, I'm going to close the discussion on Article 6. Do we have a motion to restrict reconsideration,
So
Jared?
made.
So second, all those in favor of restricting reconsideration on Article 6, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That was an interesting and very good discussion. And I want to commend this group for doing it in a civil manner. I think it does credit to Goffstown to discuss a difficult issue the way it was brought up. So I appreciate all of your participation in that. Okay, that brings us to the end of the warrant. I'd like to thank the boards, the school board, the budget committee for all your work. Thank you for the school administrators for coming. Mind you, the town deliberative session is tomorrow. You can see the Rod Stark show. And you vote on Tuesday, March 2nd. Peter, do you have a motion? Motion to adjourn. March 10th. What did I say? March 2nd? I'm sorry, March 10th. Don't believe me. Motion to adjourn made and seconded. All those in favor, please say. Okay, motion opposed. Thank you.
Heather, we're done.